Hey there, film fans. I'm Jeff.
I'm Dave.
And I'm John, and welcome back to The Love of Cinema, a pod in which we'll challenge one another to discuss movies, both new and old, with a strictly positive critical eye.
It's right. And to avoid lazy negativity, we have decided to make this episode a drinking game.
Mm-hmm.
Drinking game. Oh, look what you got.
Let's go ahead and let's do our shot. Let's do our shot.
Okay,
you ready?
shot,
So we do a
shot,
shot here,
cheers,
just
cheers.
so everybody knows that we're doing
we'll
this for
introduce
real.
the guest host after we do the shot. Yeah.
Yeah. Guest dude does this in secret. Here you go. Ah, that's right, people. Anytime we
spicy meatball.
Anytime we say we should do this after, we should take the shot after I set up the premise of the show.
Yeah, really
Anytime
should.
we say, anytime we say anything negative about the show, each other, our guest's co-host on his podcast, we are gonna play this buzzer sound.
It's so
That
melodic.
sound means that we have to take a drink. That'll keep us honest, keep us positive. We hope you drink along with us.
So pour yourselves a glass, get ready to punch out some camels. We're going back
Holy
into
shit, dude.
Oh my God. So, for those of you new to the podcast, we try to keep it spoiler free for about 10 minutes. But since this is going to be part of our Should Have Seen That By Now series, we'll still try, but probably fail to keep it spoiler free for 10 minutes. We have a special guest who we're going to introduce in 1 second. But let's quickly give a little shout out to our sponsors so that we can get this thing moving. John!
Carlos Barroso is our beer sponsor. That
Somehow,
man is alive.
Somehow he's still our
He
beer
does
sponsor.
live over there on the East Coast in the New York metropolitan area. You can find him on Instagram if you want to follow that beer maker at barroso.beer. We also have a music artist known as Dasein, Dasein, and he is now available on all the music platforms. Download that music for free. Support him, please. Go to the artist page on Spotify or Apple Music. Start following, listening. Check out the Instagrams. It's all available now, folks. Get on board. All right, let's welcome our guest officially now that we've taken a fucking shot with him. He has been on the show multiple times. We're happy to have him back. We've been on his show, the Matt and Mark movie show. Mr. Mark Monstroski, welcome back to the show, brother. Welcome back to the
Thank you so much for having me. Wow, it's been a long time.
Yeah.
Jeez.
I mean, the good news
It
is you
has been a
still
long
hold the
time.
record for the most buzzers on the show. So.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, boy. I don't know
Frozen
about this
pineapple
episode,
topic.
though. This might be the least buzzers for me.
I was about to say, at least buzzers for you. I got to just say, folks, we're talking, you can see it in the episode title. We're talking about 1982's Conan the Barbarian. It's 82, right? That was
Yeah.
right, you?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I just got to spit this out first before we get too into it because I know it's going to influence the way we talk about this. Mark and I met, and I may have told this story very quickly and the first time you came on, but we met just seeing a movie at the same cinema in New York City. We didn't talk to each other that first time. The next time we were at a movie together, we started chit-chatting. We ended up just having some drinks after whatever screening that was. And we were talking about movies, and you said then that this was one of your favorite movies. And then a few years ago, the Lincoln Center did a retrospective on kick-ass movies from the 80s. And you went and saw this one at fucking Lincoln Center, and you said it was fucking brilliant. And I still had never seen it as an adult. So I'm so happy to have you on so we can fucking talk about this movie with a fucking Conan connoisseur, Mr. Mark Monstroski. Welcome. I'm so
Sorry
happy,
about
man.
all the
Very
alliteration.
excited to talk about this movie.
Can we?
By the
can
way,
we-
I think,
Yeah, go ahead.
John, did I invite you to see that with me?
You did invite me to see that, and I think
And
I was fucking
You went
slinging
to
it.
see another movie, but I forgot what it was.
I think
Oh,
I
we
was
gotta
seeing
know.
A
something.
vastly inferior movie. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, yeah.
Mariah Carey's Glitter.
Man, dude, you were so right, dude.
That's
You
for
did
Jeff
invite
just
me,
for
and I
mentioning
think I
that
was
piece
going.
of shit. Aw.
I think I was saying something probably very pretentious downtown at the the film forum or something
Lincoln
like that.
Plaza.
He's self-aware.
You
people.
won.
Wait.
You
So
won.
wait, really quick. I'm actually going to be on this here podcast next week, and I'm very excited about it. But Mark, I know we have a quota where we try to mention your show at least once a week. But can you give us because I actually love this because the evolution of how you guys introduced the show has changed. I think Matt, the first time he came on was a Tromaville episode where we did American Graffiti and then Toxic Avenger. It's still one of my favorite gag episodes we've ever done.
I'll never forget the look on his face.
It was really funny. But anyway, he introduced that he was like, it's 90% dad joke and 10% talking about the movie. And I think he quickly retracted. He quickly rolled that back. Well, how would you describe your podcast?
Basically, it's just our dumb opinion on movies. It's sort of like it actually started out a long time ago. We had a podcast called Video Death Ray, and we would just review really
name.
obscure horror films, essentially, or like really bad movies, like mostly like 80s, 90s.
This Conan episode's gonna be fucking great. Yeah. keep going.
and then I think Matt and I got a little bit burned out on that, or life just caught up with us, and then we stopped. And when COVID happened and Matt moved out to the West Coast, he's like, hey, let's start another show and talk movies. So we actually started out doing like pretty obscure movies and like, cult films that no one really watched. And now I think we've moved on. I think we've progressed to more current films. So it's been very rare that we've talked about old movies. So I'm actually excited to talk to you guys about Conan.
And we're similar because the three of us, I don't know if you really know this or how familiar you are. We actually lived together for 2 years, the three of us together. So
we've talked more since than the whole time we lived together.
For sure. But you and Matt actually went to college together.
Yeah, we both went to Pratt and studied film.
See, that's so funny because you guys, every now and then you'll be like, yeah, we're fucking film school friends. We're like, yeah. And I'd be like, what? Like, what are you talking about? I had no idea.
I love you just refer to it as like two dumb guys talking about movies, because if you go to YouTube, that's exactly what they're saying about us right now. So I feel like, yeah, pretty much.
Oh shit.
Yeah, but we're not trending. But we're not trending in Saudi Arabia.
No, that's true. How did that happen?
And
what you guys have though?
It's weird.
And Portugal. Good for you. Pat yourself on the back.
Yeah, that's right. You charted in Portugal.
You know what's fucking cool though? I love,
they can't go outside right now.
We kind of started doing our shows at a fairly similar time, because I remember speaking to you guys when you were starting up again, and you would listen to a little bit of us, and we don't have similar shows, like in terms of like we're doing the same thing and we just hop on each other's. Like our platform is different than yours. And my favorite thing, I gotta say, my brother is obsessed with your show, dude. He listens to it all the time. He talks to me about it. He thinks you guys are so fucking hilarious, dude. He listens to you regularly, and as all of us do. And I think you're totally right about how like you guys have this fucking rapport where you will eventually talk about the movie, but that's not why I tune in. Honestly, like, yeah, I'm gonna hear your thoughts on the movies, and they're gonna be entertaining. But my favorite things are when you guys just fucking shamelessly tangent way off and just talk to each other about something that has it's not in the episode notes, it's not in the title. It's hard. Him and I try to like remember which episode you talk about certain jokes or a random story on, and I want you to go through your episode notes and like document exactly when you talk about like where you took weird shits,
just so we can remember it for reference.
just for us. Anyway, it's fucking gold. Anyone who isn't listening, check out the Matt and Mark movie podcast. It's fucking,
especially next
really
week when I'm on it. But
yeah, definitely.
Next week.
What are you guys talking about again? The Samaritan?
Yeah, but by the way, we talk about your show a lot because we see you, the three of you, as like it's a very elevated and refined show, and you talk about like it sounds like you're a lot more educated. I'll be
what? You went to fucking film school together.
I'm glad it sounds like that.
I went to Pratt, which is, that was like a fine arts school, and the film program was secondary. This is how bad the film program was there. It was so bad that the building it was called the ARC. That's where they held all the film programs. This is how much they didn't give a shit about the film program. There were photo flow chemicals in the drinking water because they didn't put the pipes in correctly. So the photo flow chemicals were going into the drinking water supply. So when you press any of the drinking fountains in the ARC building, you would smell photo flow. And I believe they got like this massive fine for it, but they didn't give a shit about the film department. Like the cameras were always broken. The studio is a piece of shit with just like one
Pratt.
shiny.
You're actually going for a drink there. It's like, oh, this is daylight. Yep, this is tungsten.
Oh, day for night. Yeah, you eat, you sleep, you fucking drink movies, and then you die at 35. Okay, so. We have to get into our episode about Conan. So good. Conan the Barbarian, 1980.
Yeah, whose daughter went to Pratt as well.
Co-written by Oliver Stone. That's right, the Oliver Stone. Starring Emmy Award winner Arnold Schwarzenegger. That's right, people. We're going to be talking about Conan the Barbarian. But I wanted really quickly. That's right. He won an Emmy in 2014 for some.
I just have to stop,
shit.
like, because we have a video segment on this show. You can see it on YouTube. Mark, did you just go into like disco mode?
Yeah. What the fuck?
I turned my lights on. I was like, it's getting dark out here. Let's see. I'm gonna turn on one more.
Never changed. Well,
wait, Jeff.
really.
Wait, Jeff. I'm interrupting you.
It's okay.
Is that what's on Schwarzenegger's IMDb page? Emmy award winning.
One primetime Emmy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh man, that's good.
I want to make my gripe of the week thing happen. All right. So we're going to be talking about Conan, but luckily, you guys, if you're here for Conan, you're going to be listening to it. Just you know the drill. So really quick, we have 1 minute each. If you want it, you can pass. What is your gripe of the week? Does anybody have a gripe besides me? Because goddamn it, I have a gripe. Anybody have a gripe that you just need to get off your chest?
I'm just so excited to hear your gripe. Honestly, I live on the edge of my seat
Dave?
all week waiting
I had
for
a
you
good
to
week.
complain about
I'm
something.
going to pass.
Dave, no gripes? Well, Mark,
It
you
feels
already
like
guessed.
you're
I will
locked
let
and
you go
loaded,
first.
dude.
I told Mark
Gripes
ahead of time.
in terms of Conan or just
No,
general.
nothing to do with the film. Just something from this week that you need to get off your chest. Because that's the only thing about doing one film is sometimes
something
the other things
isn't
that we
Warner
want to get
Brothers, because
in.
we all fucking hate them right now.
Oh,
Something
I
that's
guess
not Warner Bros.
here's the gripe I have. Like, I've been seeing a lot of movies in the theater now, and also, like, Matt and I were talking about 90s movies versus movies today. So we saw Beast recently, and then because both of us are huge fans of Ghost in the Darkness, so it really sucks to see. I mean, with the amount of technology we have,
CGI movie.
it's like I'm so fucking tired of CGI and just seeing people getting. You can tell they're acting with a digital element, because it doesn't feel like a lion is pulling this guy up and dropping him. It just feels like he's acting like he's getting pulled up and dropped.
Yeah.
And it's just, I am so fucking tired of seeing that shit. It's like, you watch these old. I'll take a drink for that.
No, keep going. We'll just keep racking up the buzzes. You keep going.
Honestly, that was the wrong button. This is for you. This is good. Keep going, dude.
Keep going. Go.
But like, you see Ghost in the Darkness, it's shot on film. It's got a lot of practicals. You see this huge train coming. You know what thing I've noticed? Because of CG, movies, even though they're supposed to feel epic, they do not feel epic at all. It still feels like flat. And even though they're using this technology with, they have the Unreal Engine, and you have like these LED boxes so you can manipulate light and it looks natural, it still feels fucking flat to me. Like that, it still feels like there's a wall behind them, it looks terrible. So to me, watching all the older films, it's funny, even though I watch a B movie today that was made in the 80s, like Chud, it still looks better than some of the A-list movies out now, because it's shot in film, it's practical effects, and it looks great. And I miss that immensely.
Yeah, I mean, I watched fucking Lightyear the other week. Not a single practical effect.
Well, I mean, for the thing is with animation where it's all CG, great. There are certain movies that do it well. Like I just watched Finch, and that movie is beautiful and it's a great film. But I think a lot of people, they don't have a grasp on how to handle effects, and you can tell the 90s directed. Like Verhoeven, you watch. I don't care what people think about Starship Troopers, but when you watch that scene with that, when they carpet bomb the bugs and it has that CG element mixed with practicals, those 90s CG effects, and same with Terminator 2, look so much better than the stuff you see today.
I don't think Terminator 2 will ever not hold up.
Dude, I think I almost completely agree. And I think it's because we're being influenced by the video game, mentality, where people, every time I would sit down to play a video game with any of my friends, and I'm not picking on gamers. I just wasn't a gamer. So I was a movie watcher growing up. And every time I would sit down with my gaming friends, they would be like, look how realistic these graphics are. And I was just sitting there thinking, you have been nurtured into thinking that this is acceptable. And it's not. It's just not super realistic yet. Nobody saw Harrison Ford in Call of the Wild with that CGI dog 2 years ago. Nobody saw that movie because nobody wanted to go watch the fucking... Yeah, I got you. Nobody wanted to go watch that CGI dog. It's a great story and nobody gave a shit.
But here's the thing: is like they put that CGI dog, because I took my mom to see it because she's a huge fan. She used to read that
dude,
book
I'm
to me when I was a kid.
how was it? Did they send you a thank you note?
No, but here's the thing: is like they made the mistake of they have a CG, they have a fucking CG dog, and then they still have real dogs. So you see it's like, why would you do that? You can see the difference. It's like this dog has fucking anime eyes and the other dogs look real.
And then you get movies like Prey that go and get a rescue dog that has no training whatsoever, and it steals the fucking film.
Yeah,
it's the movie magic. Great. It's the movie magic conversation we've had many times on this. I'm glad we're in agreement. I think most filmmakers are in agreement that like that's not really the direction we want to go. Today, I was watching some clips of older practical horror effects because of this friend I have that I'm working with right now. We watched one of I recommend everyone in the film world to look this up. Lucio Fulci's Zombie. There is a wonderful scene where it's a ridiculous cheesy movie and this girl gets dragged by a zombie into like this large piece of wood that goes into her eye. And of course it's the 70s or the early 80s. And there's, a super practical eyeball and like, mask face that it eventually just cuts to. And it's still more gripping and compelling and creates more anxiety. Even though it's not a real human, there's just something that is so safe about CGI. Everyone can comfortably sit back in their seats when they watch that kind of thing. Except for the people
people making the CGI. They're not safe because
they're
overworked and they're boycotting Marvel.
Dave, what did you send? You sent us an article about how the people are starting to speak out about. Look, Marvel is a super successful company, and we respect a lot of the great movies that they've made. But this community is finally starting to talk about the way that these jobs get turned over so quickly.
Fucking employee empowerment,
outsourced. Yeah, they're usually outsourced. They can't stand on their own two legs as companies often because they usually fail under the expectations and limits of the budgets and how they are squeezed in post-production schedules that are ridiculous. And I don't know. I think people are starting to talk about it. Something has to influence it because it can't just be fucking podcast people talking about how this is frustrating us. Like everyone knows it's just not as good. Everybody knows it.
By the way, the best example I can give is if you watch Blade and you compare that movie with the Marvel movies of today, how vastly superior is that movie to like the garbage that they're putting out, where it's like the storylines feel the same. It's all like designed for like families. Blade was the shit. First of all, it's got practical effects. I mean, the CG stuff's a little bit weird now, but there's way more practical effects. It's way more adult. The subject matters better, and then you see the crap that we have now. Like it's the first.
Trash. It's Blade 1, and it's the first Matrix versus everything that we just casually see now. Even when it's done super well, we were all like, "How did they do that?" When was the last time you said that, Tuzo?
I think it was the Matrix, probably.
I think for me it wasn't how they do that, but Top Gun, like. Tom Cruise wouldn't have made a CGI lion movie. He would have like been in like short jean shorts. He would have been glistened up in the sun, like super tan, out in Africa, fighting some like practical lions. Like, come on,
there actually is a lot of CG in Top Gun. There's like
effectively
references to
used.
Effectively used, so that it's to supplement the live action stuff. Yeah, it's not.
Yeah, which is
not to replace it.
There is a way that we can use these things effectively.
Fury Road is a good example of a majority of the film being practical effects, and it's still commercially successful. I mean, like, if you compare the budgets between Fury Road and some of these Marvel movies, like, there really is no excuse to do practical effects,
Dune sold itself as being largely practical as well.
Yeah.
All right, so that was Mark and John's 1 minute rant.
Jeff, we just stole your 1 minute.
That was like 15 minutes.
Luckily, on YouTube, we divide these into sections. You can just click on the sections.
Dave, I feel like we need to get the minute on. I think we need like a countdown clock for 1 minute.
No, but this is great. This is great for Conan though, because if anybody's excited for Conan and they're sitting there listening and not fast forwarding, they're gonna sit there and be like, "Yes, this is why Conan is awesome. This is why." Yeah. Because I wrote down, not to segue into this because I'm still doing my fucking gripe. I wrote down these are some pretty bad fight sequences, which makes them some of the best fight sequences I've ever seen in my life. Okay, my gripe is so simple. It's simply the home screen on Apple remotes Apple TV remotes and Roku remotes. This is my gripe. That's right. If I'm closing Microsoft Word, it goes, whoa. You didn't save this yet. Are you sure you want to close this? And I go, fuck, you're right. On Gmail, Google Docs, if I close it, it saves my work. If I'm watching something, there's 6 buttons on this fucking remote. I watch it in the dark. Let's say I'm watching The Staircase on HBO Max. Just to shout it out there. It's very, very fucking, it's painfully slow, but I'm watching it and I'm watching it in the dark and I have no idea what they're saying. So I try to turn the volume up and I accidentally hit the home screen and all of a sudden it's like I fucking reboot the whole goddamn system just because I missed the fucking button on the remote. And I swear to you, one time my internet wasn't good or something. It reset all of HBO Max. So I click on HBO Max and it's like loading, and it's like, wait a second.
That was just in the time you hit that button, they've deleted the film.
They deleted the whole film, rebooted it. So I click on HBO Max, and I just want to get right back to where I left off in The Staircase. So I click HBO Max, and it goes, who's watching, John or Brandon? And I'm like, God damn it, it's John. I'm John. Just let me fucking watch my show on John's account. So I click on John, and then it's like the recently watched is like the 5th row, so I have to go all the way down. I click on The Staircase, and then for some reason, it's the series and not the episode, so I have to go back through and it's like, just because I hit the fucking wrong button. Give me a goddamn break. Can't they just give me are you sure you want to quit like the old days? Come on. That's my gripe.
By the way, do you also notice like the other thing with that is like even when you pause or try to jump somewhere, like the interface clutters you up with so much shit and then it takes like a couple seconds to leave the screen. So it's like blocking shit as you're watching.
It's like the Amazon. It's like the Amazon thing. They want this, so let's show them 10 other things that they might want on the way, so that they come back or whatever.
It's like that scene in Ready Player One where they're like, we can sell 85% of the screen to ad space before we induce seizures, and they've just taken this and fucking run with it.
I hit the wrong button on the remote. They're like, yes, we get to do this all over again, you motherfuckers. Okay. Guys, we are here to talk about Conan the Barbarian from 1982, not the 2011 remake. We are talking about 1982. This movie was directed by John, is it Milius? Is it Miliu?
I think it's Milius.
That's a fantastic question.
I'm going to go.
I think it was Milius.
Milius. This is John Milius. The writer of the books in the early 1900s is Robert E. Howard, who is known as the father of sword and sorcery, the sword and sorcery subgenre. I think they mean like contemporary or American because you have the chivalric and the Arthurian tales, but whatever. For as far as we're concerned with contemporary lore, with the pulp subgenre of sword and sorcery shit, this motherfucker in his 20s in Texas, of all goddamn places, wrote these Conan series, died at the age of 30, and left his imprint. This movie kind of feels like Texas. Now that once I knew that, I was like, a lot of desert. They don't like flowers. That's one of the best as I've ever heard in a movie. It's like, hey, are there flowers here? Flowers. Ha! It's Texas, motherfucker. Like that's So anyway,
the sorcerer guy.
Yeah. I put down here. Okay, first of all,
on the
you got.
By the way, one thing.
Why I am telling this tale.
By the way, if anyone ever starts a conversation with "I'm a magician," in modern day times, fucking run, because you don't want to know what comes after that.
This narrator.
I'm a wizard.
This narrator sounds like a Monty Python guy doing Mr. Miyagi impression, and I'm so glad we get to meet him later. I mean, the lines he has to say right at the beginning, this fucking voiceover, the times of high adventure. He sits there and he goes,
didn't like that?
No, I fucking loved it. Yo, I'm eating the shit up for sure. Oh my God. Fucking
it totally sets up the movie.
Yeah,
and I love that guy's voice.
The only thing you can trust is steel. Like it definitely, now that you know it definitely sounds like a 20-year-old in his mom's basement. But if you didn't know that, you'd have no idea.
I think John Milius is like from what I've read, he's actually a very conservative guy, and you can kind of see that coming through. Like you can tell this movie is like an anti-hippie movie, which is fucking hilarious.
Many boobs. There's an orgy where like the snakes are the tops and the.
No, I meant I just want to say, like,
conservative.
Hang on a minute. Orgies make you turn into a snake. I've got to cancel a couple of appointments this week.
Well, wait. Let's talk. No, sorry, wrong button. Right, Texas conservatives here. They're having orgies here, and they're trying to get rid of abortions. I'm pretty sure everybody at an orgy wants abortions to be legal, motherfucker. John Milius. I want to see who he voted for.
He went.
Everybody at an orgy wants abortion to be legal.
If I'm not mistaken, Milius went to USC. with Spielberg and
really?
Lucas.
Yes, he did. Yeah.
Sorry
He
to steal
also
your thunder,
wrote
John. I thought I'd bring it
Apocalypse
up first this time.
I'm gushing, John.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, sure.
He wrote Apocalypse Now, no shit.
Yeah, don't forget he wrote one of like the greatest. If we're talking about film and practical effects, that is probably the greatest fucking film ever made.
How many of the lines that he wrote were actually did Marlon Brando actually say?
That's a
Oh,
fantastic.
he didn't write. I'm sure he didn't write. I'm sure he did not write any
Three,
of that.
and one of
actually
those was
rewrote
out
a
of
bunch
breath.
The day before, Marlon said, I didn't read the script. And the day of, he says, I'm just going to say this.
Everything up until they get to the Marlon scene, John had a piece of.
I don't mean to diminish the achievement by John Milius.
That's a shame because there's no fucking dialogue before then, is there?
Let me give you the IMDb description and to pretend.
Wait, hold on a second. We can't move past it. We can't move past it until we explain this to Mark. Mark, Dave did not like Apocalypse Now.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
I was bored shitless.
Yeah,
Damn.
Did you? It's the problem with four
talked
people having
about
the
it.
There you go, Mark.
sorry,
Mark,
guys.
get on the
There we
buzzer.
go. Yeah, his virgin
Mark, our
buzz.
first
No, that was
virgin
good.
buzz. Mark just lost his
great.
buzzer V card.
Oh, that's
right
fine.
there.
You know the fun thing about this thing? I have one too.
Fuck you.
Dave, did you watch the 3-hour version with me? Because when we rewatched it, we watched the
No,
director's cut.
I didn't.
And holy
I
shit,
watched-
it was
That's the
long.
thing.
watched
Is
the
which
shortened one.
version did you watch?
I watched the
I
short
rewatched
one.
that.
I was like, there's more of this?
cut?
I like the French couple. That was a cool scene, but I don't know if I needed 30 more minutes. It was good though. It was
Oh,
good.
come on. It's so good.
Oh, it was great. It was great. Okay. Let me do this. We'll pretend like this episode has structure. I'll read the IMDb
We're half an hour in.
description. I'll read the IMDb description. We'll go around the horn and say our initial takeaways, thoughts, feels, specifically on this rewatch. I had never seen it before. Also, to pretend like we had structure. I had no reason. I just didn't see it. Anyway, also I had to rent this motherfucker, you guys. We just gave
Me too.
Amazon $10. Anyway. The description on IMDb. A young boy, Conan, becomes a slave after his parents are killed and tribe destroyed by a savage warlord and sorcerer, Thulsa Doom. When he grows up, he becomes a fearless, invincible fighter. Set free, he plots revenge against Thulsa Doom. This stars Arnold Schwarzenegger, Emmy Award winner, James Earl Jones, Emmy Award winner, Max von Sydow, 2-time Emmy nominee. Written and directed by John Milius, co-written by Oliver Stone, and some co-stars who are amazing, including somebody who is listed as Sacrificial Snake Girl, which I would love to have written on my resume.
Just wait.
Who would like to take it away with their initial takeaways? What did you think of this rewatch?
David.
Conan the Barbarian.
I had a ball. I've seen this, I want to say 25 times at least, like so many times. But no, when I based back in Australia, we got home video like a lot later than everyone else. So like in the 80s, we got finally got a VHS player in our house, and the first thing we watched, I think it was around 83, 84, was Rambo, as in First Blood.
Nice.
And I think this was the second thing we watched on VHS in our house.
Oh wow.
That's pretty representative of the 80s.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, I didn't realize the two movies fucking end the same too. Like building traps and fucking killing people. But it was it was fun then. I sat there with my family and watched it, and it was fun. It was quirky, and I had just as much fun this time around. Like it doesn't matter that you can see the blood bags in their guts when he slashes them and stuff like that. That's not what this movie's about. I don't know what this movie's about, but
I thought there was more.
Yeah, I thought you were. I was like, what a wonderful preface. He's about to say something,
I'm about to say something
incredible.
profound. No, I have no idea what the fuck this movie's like.
We don't know what it's
trying to
about.
say.
We know what it's
But
not.
it was fun.
This movie is very much like There Will Be Blood. It's the journey of a person from being like nothing to being a king at the end. It's fucking incredible. Wasn't that? I'm sorry. This is the best origin story ever, and the way it's told, it's so simple. There's barely any fucking dialogue.
Oh, can I just
by
say?
the way, just seeing him, wasn't that amazing? Just seeing him push that wheel till every kid he was with dies, until he's the only one pushing that fucking wheel. It's the greatest origin story of a
Moses
character
had nothing
ever.
on this guy.
I just want to bring it back as well to that origin
insanely
story
good.
where, like, when they come and invade the village and confront his mother. I never noticed until this watch that, the two other who become the henchmen, and then later on go to form Whitesnake. They. Sorry, I had to throw something in there. But during that scene where they're confronting the mother, and she's about to die, they can't meet her eye, and it's so subtle. There's almost no dialogue. Much like There'll Be Blood. There's no dialogue for a whole first section of this film, but it still tells you everything you need to fucking know.
And also the introduction to Thulsa Doom, he doesn't have to be menacing. He's actually has very kind features, and it you can tell he can hypnotize.
Yeah, maybe it's menacing. Maybe it's Maybelline.
Sorry, Mark, were you making a point?
I'm telling you, it's beautifully shot. Just the fact. I'm telling you, when you see the head drop in slow-mo and that hand
jump right to the end,
disappearing, and he just looks at his hand. Awesome. Well, but the one thing that I will nitpick on this, which is kind of funny, but it's his father has this beautiful speaking voice, his mother, and then you get to Conan, he's
I can't buzz that. They were they saw Arnold in Stay Hungry, which we talked about on this podcast, and they were the kid's got to sound like an idiot.
I've not had a good run with Schwarzenegger films, so I love this one.
By the way, even though I've said that, Conan, his acting in this movie is really good because he's not playing it as some crazy deranged person. He actually has a lot of when they're breeding him, the way he puts that fur around, he's actually not an animal. He's actually he's very charismatic. He's funny. You actually want to hang out with this dude. When he's punching camels in the face, he's a really he's a charming guy. He's not actually a barbarian. Maybe he's violent, but
I cannot find whether he did that or not.
If the punch was
whether they did pull
fake it.
Yeah, it looks like he made contact because you see a bit of the cheek.
They do say that they had the camel's head tied and they jerked his head as he did that, but I don't know whether that's true or not because there's also some bullshit about there's also some bullshit about they put wires out to trip the horse.
This is the 80s. I'm pretty sure he decked that camel.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he decked the camel.
Right.
There's what I did find in looking for it though, is he holds the record for the number of animals punched on camera. So.
Really?
Yes, he does.
I think
it's he punched the reindeer in Jingle All the Way.
Yeah, it was two camels, a horse, a couple of dogs, and a reindeer.
Wow.
God, I love Arnold Schwarzenegger. He's awesome.
Apparently, that qualifies you to be the fucking governor of California.
This is I did find it fun that this was probably looking at his resume. This is the beginning of Arnold moving into what we think of as the Arnold heyday throughout the 80s and 90s.
Pre-Terminator,
Pre-Terminator, pre-Predator. So yeah, I thought this was you have to put on your campy 80s movie kind of style hat.
Absolutely.
And as soon as you do that, I think you're going to have a blast watching this kind of movie. Just in 80s form, they somehow managed to, because this is coming out of the 70s where the new Hollywood dramatic directors were trying to show you that this is what acting can be. They were taking performance and character to a whole other level for a decade, ending basically 2 years before this came out with, I would say Raging Bull is the end of the new Hollywood era. They made films into the early 80s, but I feel there's a really clean cutoff where something else started happening when the corporations bought the studios and John Milius got this movie greenlit somehow. And with a non-star, Arnold was known around the world for other things, but he was not a movie star yet.
They got this movie greenlit because Empire was being made at the same time and they suddenly realized action franchises would work.
Yeah,
so that's what led to this getting... Yeah.
So what's cool about this?
So what's cool about this for me was that Mark already kind of said it, but the 80s were the time period where they were nobody has read Joseph Conrad. Everybody has forgotten that, like, all Joseph Campbell, excuse me, all of the old tales, we can do them again with better special effects. Like we've seen that in the 2000s. The 80s was the time where they were like, let's do it again. We tried some in the 40s and the 50s, but now we have better technology. Let's fucking go back to the well. So the fact that they chose like such a simple hero's journey, that they tell you exactly what the tale is going to be in the fucking prologue. You know exactly what you're in for, and you just get to watch. I don't know, man. It was fun. I'm pretty sure some of this was shot in fucking just the hills of California, probably not too far from here.
No, it was all Spain. All shot in Spain.
Was it all Spain?
It was all in Spain in
Wow,
81.
that's
It was actually in the middle of shooting this, there was a coup attempt in Spain.
In fucking
The
Spain.
fucking military tried to overthrow the government, and they had to, like, there's tanks
Send in
driving
Conan.
down the street, and they apparently stopped shooting for a few hours.
For a few hours.
How
Few
fucking
hours.
hardcore is that?
Hours.
How fucking hardcore is that?
What an inconvenience. Oh,
Anyway,
guys.
this is
Do you
Go home
like?
early.
Isn't it amazing how the economy of storytelling in this? And to me, it doesn't feel camp. It actually, because I loved heavy metal, and this was like a heavy metal movie come to life. But I do love the economy and storytelling because that wasn't that dope though. It just how you see how he progresses and levels up. But my favorite scene has got to be. He's being chased by. This is after he's set free. He's being chased by wild dogs. He finds this tomb with a king. And he takes the sword, but the next scene, and it does that. It trusts that the audience is intelligent because the next scene, you don't see him killing the dogs. He's just fucking wearing them. That's fucking dope. That is the coolest and most. It shows that he's progressed as a fighter and as a person. It's awesome, and the movie is just full of that stuff. And of course, you gotta.
You know
love
why
the
they don't show the
practical-
dogs? Because one of those
Honestly-
motherfuckers bit him, and they had to stitch him up on set.
So it was a
Wow.
real
God, we
dog
used to-
skin, fresh.
We used to make fucking movies. Honestly, this did kind of feel like John Milius, who was out of film school at this point, but it did kind of feel like every scene and the fact that there's so little dialogue, like every scene they were like trying to push themselves to be like, what can we just show? Like all the rules, it felt like they were trying to follow them, and I think for the most part successfully. There are some hilarious things that happen in this movie that I can't wait to discuss.
Oh yeah, I have
Hilarious,
questions.
But ultimately, I feel like this was Mark, I think I totally agree with you. I don't think we would have a lot of our sword and sandal successes. They tried a bunch of that in the 50s and 60s, leading up to the failure of The Robe, which somehow won Academy Awards, but everyone thinks of it as just this gigantic epic failure of that genre that was so popular for about a
The what?
decade. This was the research. Exactly. The Robe.
I have no idea what you're
This
talking
was
about.
like, I know. It's okay. Don't even look at it.
I gotta.
This was like the resurgence, and I just kept thinking, we would not have Gladiator without this movie. Like this was, there were so many
Yeah,
parallels
fucking
to
thanks,
like
Conan.
that kind of story. So I'm just glad it happened.
By the
Anyway,
way,
let's get
I'm a
into it.
huge. By the way, I'm a huge Gladiator and Ridley Scott fan.
Yeah.
But to be honest, this movie aged way better than Gladiator. You cut to those like CG shots of Rome, and it looks like shit. Everything in this movie, because of the practical effects, it feels like a very cohesive environment. Those towers they built, even that altar at the end, the scale of it, and then you see all the followers with their torches. I'm telling this is a very
there are some matte
epic
paintings
film.
in this, but yeah,
I'm agreeing.
Yeah, you can see it's like, why aren't the trees moving?
there's no way in fucking hell
No,
they
I'm
built
gonna-
that thing on the top of the mountain.
I'm agreeing. I'm going to agree by like nitpicking that like there's something appropriately authentic about how scaled down the big city was, how scaled down the temple
It was like a flight of stairs.
Yeah, there were so few people back then. That's probably way more realistic than like, sometimes we will see movies nowadays where they show us the ancients and this thing they built, and you're like, come on, they didn't.
Well, I mean,
There's no way they could have made that. Like,
What was
you know what I mean?
Okay, hold on.
Oh,
Before
what
we
was
get
that-
too far down this,
what
we
was
haven't
that
heard from
Kurosawa
Jeff
film?
yet.
I liked
Which
it.
Kurosawa film? Throne of Blood?
Thanks, Jeff.
well, the one that
Yeah.
Star
Carry
Wars
on.
is based on? Ah,
It's
Throne of Blood.
Fortress.
Or
Yeah,
Fortress.
The The Hidden Fortress.
Hidden Fortress, yeah.
Hidden
But if you look at
Fortress,
Hidden
yeah.
Fortress, there's a lot of stuff where the big set pieces are happening in the background and the characters are on, like, say, for example, a big staircase. There's a lot of that stuff. It's a good budget way of creating, like, a large environment, but still keeping it small. All right, that's all I want to say.
Yeah, they live there. Yeah. Jeff, that's all you got? You liked it? I don't think you liked it.
This movie, it was so fucking fun. This movie's who's buzzing who? What's going on? This movie's fucking fun. This movie's so fun, and you guys said all the shit. You said all the right things, and you're right. There is the '80s camp element. You have to accept that. If you really wanted to like some of the sword fight, you could tell that they took a fake sword and just like hit somebody, and then they cut and there was blood. Like, yeah, that kind of shit happened. Fine. We didn't actually cut.
Or the blood was there all along. They just didn't see it till he turned.
That one beheading scene was pretty dope, though. When he cuts off that guy's head, holy shit! I was like, damn, that looks pretty good.
Well, and then the other one they did, because rather than it's so like sexy in these old movies to have like one clean swipe to take a head off, but it's way more realistic to get a bunch of chomps and like take your
you gotta whack at it.
That last one where he's just like he's like, motherfucker, get and then he finally gets that head off. It's like, oh my god, it's so gruesome. Well, I gotta say, the one thing that I'll point out, I'm gonna say it for sure, is the fucking score, man. It is shameless. This score,
Dude.
It is in I don't know what language it's in. It's like fucking Carl Orff. Carl Orff got stoned with a bunch of like Tibetan monks.
I have a
also
note here.
They took some Middle Eastern music, which has no business in this time era, but it's almost like they saw Star Wars and they're like, look, there's no trumpets in space. So who gives a fuck, man?
I think
like,
it's Basil Paladores from RoboCop. So
Yeah.
you actually hear a bit of that RoboCop.
And it's
twist to
Paladores
it,
going
you know?
hard as a motherfucker on his assignment. Like,
It's a gorgeous.
I must admit, the trumpets really stood out like dog's balls in the openings.
Dogs'
like
balls?
That. Yeah.
What kind, the dog? They just stand out so much. You see these dogs' balls. And
Yeah, they cast a
can't
shadow,
not
dude.
notice them.
It's like, but it's like
They cast a shadow. I never see a dog shadow and goes, well, there's the balls.
fuck, we're gonna have some more Australian guests on this.
It's funny too because it starts out kind of chalk but big, so it's like whenever it's in a minor key, it's like low brass, and then it goes major and it's violins or whatever. But all of a sudden it goes, you know what? Fuck it, we're doing this weird. So they're like sneaking into a temple, and you have a 100-person choir singing in a language that I don't know what language, if it's Latin or whatever it is, as loud as they possibly can. It's like playing the opposites, man. It is class.
Yeah.
It's
funny you point out that
awesome.
he went on to do RoboCop, because like a lot of these guys, like the editor, went on to do one of my favorite 80s films, Last Starfighter, as well.
Yeah.
So like all these guys moved on to some really cool shit, as well as making something that is such a fucking classic. It's still $14 40 years after it's made on Apple to buy. So
wait, how ahead of its time is it too that they have the gay priest that Arnold Schwarzenegger is like, he's a gay priest, I can steal his fucking robes by just you'd be like, oh, let me speak to you in private, and that priest is like, okay, and he like goes, he's like, I'm shy. You should be proud of your body. And he's like, just give me your fucking robes, man. I like, come on.
All right, so I will say, all right, I want to say something about the score.
He's like, gay priest, that's my guy, that's my target.
The comedy is in there great. If we're just to point out the score, I feel like shameless is the right word. I think it was a little much at times, and I think it's technical. I don't think it's because of the composition itself. Star Wars was not released in mono. It was the first movie to come out with 5 speakers behind the screen, and those 5 were basically unified along the sides, nothing in the back yet.
Those 5 speakers, 4 of those speakers were just for the horn section.
This movie was mixed in mono. So
get the fuck out of here.
There were way less dynamics. A really famous movie, just with a familiar score that we can all talk about, just so we understand the point I'm about to make. No.
Vangelis.
So
Indiana Jones.
I'm pretty sure that was mixed in stereo. Jaws.
Chariots of Fire. Oh,
Jaws.
Jaws is mixed in mono, and I think it's really effective because John Williams doesn't do his crazy, bombastic, gigantic thing. And I don't know if he's a genius, but I'm sure he understood the end product was going to be squeezed through the same oral space as all the dialogue and all the sound effects and everything. So sometimes I just kind of wanted to hear. I just felt like the music was so dominating over all the silence that it actually kind of, I don't know. Sometimes I feel like it smothered the what was happening in the life of the scene a little bit.
Yeah, get the
I
fuck
know.
out of here. Buzz. Smother the life of the scene. Look at you.
That was a lot of score. Come on, that was a lot of score.
It was unsmotherable. The life of the scene was unsmotherable. We had one of the weirdest witch fucking scenes I've ever seen in my life.
Oh my god, so good.
He walks
That's
into
my favorite scene in the whole movie. By the way,
whatever.
that
And
whole-
the way he responds when he wants to keep going, but she's turning into a witch, and he's like,
Oh, I'm gonna throw you in the fire, dude. Just don't call her.
I mean, obviously, I don't know how women would find this
Fuck
scene.
is
There's
wrong with
definitely a lot of definitely a lot of boobs in this, but in that witch scene, I don't know how they would think of him basically just
He
like
fucking
picking up this person he's fucking and throwing her into a fire.
Dude.
Well,
He's like-
you're leaving out the fact that she fucking transformed
Yeah,
into like a beast lady.
No, nothing is nothing.
That
There's
might
no
just
better
have been a sex
transformation.
face. You don't know.
Guys, there's no better transformation than Vedic. I feel like a recurring theme in movies that we keep watching is Vedic meditation, or actually transcendental meditation. How did James Earl Jones at the orgy not participate? He just sat there and meditated himself into a snake, and then he just like came back into James Earl Jones. Like, you're telling me, John?
They don't even
no
address
life
it.
was being
No,
saved.
he
don't
leaves.
even-
He goes through that little tunnel thing.
He literally he was at
Then
the
he comes
orgy.
back
He
and
was
he's
just
like,
he was
maybe I gotta
watching
take a
The
shit.
snake tunnel.
Yeah.
He was
He goes through
watching
the snake tunnel.
Goes to the snake tunnel, and then eventually comes back out of it and comes a human again, and then
By the way-
shoots a
by the
snake
way-
arrow, which is not a
By the
sexual
way,
reference.
I have to clarify. I have seen this movie before, and I saw it when I was a child, and I didn't remember it until I
Oh,
saw
wow.
that scene, because that scene of him
Yes. And that
beginning
music.
to
yeah.
That
transform,
music is
that's
burnt into
stuck
your
in,
head.
like my fucking nightmares. The music, that image of him like beginning to turn when they changed the color of his eyes. By the way, can we just take a moment? That was my favorite scene with the witch. My favorite moment in this scene is the beginning. His stare at the mother when she
Oh, yeah.
lowers her sword at the
Yeah.
beginning.
Yeah, hot mother, hot mom. Yeah,
I
What
mean,
the fuck
James,
was? I mean,
Earl-
the balls
James
they
Earl
had to
Jones.
take themselves that seriously in a movie like this. That's
Yeah.
going to be in the first fucking
the
5
thing
minutes.
is like he's like a hypnotic. He can hypnotize people.
Oh, you
sort
got
of
that,
like
yeah.
how his priest. That was such a cool scene. He's like, "Come, my girl," and she just
Yeah.
fucking jumps off the cliff.
And then he turns
So
around and he goes,
good.
"That's power!" Like he didn't even
Yeah.
pretend like
Yeah.
anything else was. I was so
That
blown away by
was-
that. This is 3 years before James Earl Jones was admitted into the National Theater Hall of Fame. in
He, I
1985.
mean, but
That's right.
that's the thing. Everything he was given, in anyone else's hands would have been clumsy, might have been over the top. He took that and made it fucking sinister.
Well,
yeah.
I was
Yeah.
watching Max von Sydow in his basically one scene, and I was like, the arc of the scene is like textbook. Like they should study this in acting classes, where he's like laughing and then he's sad, and then he laughs and then he's sad. And Conan, it's like, does he hate Conan? Does he love him? Is he gonna kill him? Is he gonna praise him? It was
What
such
do
a
you
good
guys think?
scene. And then
I-
you see James Earl Jones, and you're like, how could he possibly top what Arnold Schwarzenegger and Max von Sydow were doing, and then all of the supporting characters? And he's this looming presence that you can't finish this film and not have him.
I wasn't worried at all.
lasting.
Yeah, that
I
guy-
like
yeah,
that. I
mean,
like
fucking
that he
hell.
didn't go over the top. I like that everything. This movie is so
Amazing.
over the top, but it's great that they kept the villain like quiet, menacing. But also, it's not one of these villains where it's like you're like, I don't know how he can gather followers. Like when you see him, you're like, oh, I can see how
100%.
he's charismatic and he's kind enough and he can get these people to follow him
I
and
don't
do
know
things for him.
how he can power that hair straightener.
He's all to me. He's more menacing than Darth Vader in this movie. You know,
Yeah, and
there's
finally,
it's like an
in his own
underlying,
suit.
yeah. Also, his armor's fucking dope with the double,
dude,
those double
the
blades
costumes,
and those.
all the
okay,
costumes
that
are
outfit
badass,
that he
dude.
wears when he turns up in the full fucking robe and everything. Every presidential candidate from now on has to rock up in that.
By
Or
the way, do you see how
nobody
many
votes for him?
like costume changes Conan goes through at the beginning just from the gladiator fights? That shit
Oh,
is
yeah.
dope. I fucking love it. There's so much
I do
detail and how worn all the things look. I don't know.
Well, it's funny too, because sometimes you saw them and they almost look too clean. Like you saw these like animal skins, and I was like, that kind of looks like they just got it from the cleaners.
yeah,
or
but then
the-
those
you
were
know, the
fresh
rug of the
kills, so
hotel.
you know.
And yeah, there were other sequences where it's like, oh,
We're in
not so much.
we're in We're in spoiler territory.
Absolutely.
now.
We've been in
Right.
spoilers for
Yeah,
about
yeah,
20
yeah,
minutes.
yeah.
We just didn't
You
turn
know
it
what,
on.
audience? Just fucking see it.
It's a 40-year-old movie. We're good. We passed the time limit for spoilers.
You push
I have
play
a
on this movie
question.
and you forget every spoiler. Like, you
Yeah.
forget it all.
I mean, like I said, I've seen it 15, 50 times. I don't know. A lot.
Question for who here has seen it in the theater on a film print? Anybody?
Seen once.
Nah, man, no.
I think
Fucking
like when you
crazy.
when you see it in the theater though, those effects and everything they blend in really really well. It's
that-
totally a theater.
What's it
experience.
like seeing a good old fashioned crucifixion in the theater? I mean, it's been a
By the-
long
that-
time since I've seen a good crucifix. Like this,
I
it
don't
was
think I've
crucified.
ever
I've seen Life
Yeah,
of
Passion of
Brian a lot of
Christ.
times.
I mean, besides
so-
Passion of the Christ, besides
Game of Thrones.
I guess Ben-Hur, maybe they did.
Always look
Game
on
of Thrones.
the
She
bright
she,
of
she
Thrones,
crucifies the whole town, right? The rich in that town.
She does it. Well, she
Yeah.
cuts them down.
5 people are going to get the joke I just did in the world.
I didn't get
I
it. I missed
I
the
thought she ordered the crucifixion.
in the world. In the world,
but,
Saudi Arabia, if you're listening, you followed
And
Mark
that-
to this
And
podcast.
that one person in Texas might get it as well. I don't know. Yeah, I got nothing.
All right, so this
lost my
movie
train of
really.
thought. Carry on.
Remember
really
when
enjoyed.
Arnold punched a vulture in this? I forgot he punched the bird in
no, he
this.
ate
he
it.
like grabs it by the
Did you
throat.
mention? He like bites his, he's like his hands are tied up and a vulture's trying to eat him. He's like, fuck you, and he kills a vulture with his mouth.
And there's totally you can hear the like the neck snapping sound effect too.
The sound effects in this movie are fucking hilarious.
And then
dude.
there are other birds watching. They're like, I'm not going down there. I'm not getting
It's funny. This also had like 1,500 extras. They employed
it was
1,500
this
extras.
was
in
the
this thing.
Ron of American like Hollywood films. Like,
But in saying that, they had to pay them extra to stay dead because apparently like all the Spanish extras they brought in when they were stabbed and stuff would completely overact their death scene. It was like the fucking vampire at the end of Buffy the Vampire Slayer movie. It's like ooh oh, and like they took too long to die. And like even Arnold's quoted as saying this in the commentary. It's like they took so long to die. Like they ended up having to pay them extra to just fall down when they get hit by the sword.
that is so.
Yes.
I'll give you an extra $100 if you just fucking die.
Yeah, just
Shocking
cut
that,
about 20 seconds off that. Just go down.
Wow.
There's
me,
there's so many great interviews about this movie that they've given with some of the shit that they had to deal with, and it's phenomenal.
So one thing that I kept noticing while watching this, that again, there's a shamelessness here, and you're just kind of, it just is. Conan just is. Like this movie just existed. They don't explain what they don't want to get into. They don't have time. They have too much of a giant epic to cover.
And too many names I've never
There
heard
is
of them
one-
to say, and it's great.
There's one giant snake in
remember
this
that.
movie.
Yes,
Just one.
and it
Just
looks
one.
great.
One.
It looks fantastic when it slithers
By
up.
the way, didn't that eye look dope when it starts to dilate? It looked
Oh, yeah.
that
That looked
snake
great.
eye looked fucking real to
it
me.
didn't look so good when he was stabbing it through the mouth, but
That was
I love
so
how-
fun. How fun
take
was
that.
that when Arnold's killing the snake? He's punching this fake snake. I want to see the outtakes of him punching this fucking fake snake.
well, they
That's
made
so
an
fun.
just love
animatronic
how-
one, and they didn't use it very often, but like they used it for the slither, and then they resorted to the rubber snake for
I just
the.
love how casually. I love how casually he. Yeah, Mark. He killed those dogs. Like we all. None of us are going to be super surprised by that, even though it's really cool. But there was no build up to the snake stabbing at all. He just reacted and shoved his sword through that fucking snake's head. This is a giant snake. There was no like talk about it. And the only allusion to this snake is when James Earl Jones goes, he's going to be very mad. He raised that snake from a baby. And that's the
Well,
only
here's-
time.
but you have
one of
to-
his henchmen.
You have to think though, they're not expecting it either because they're just going there to steal that ruby or that gem.
But then he sees it, and nobody acknowledges. They're like, I didn't know snakes could get that big. There's just this giant fucking snake, and he like really reaches over it. I just thought there were things like that I thought were really cool. That like they just are in this world. So in a way, it's like it's not realistic at all.
And the next scene, they didn't just go, guys, did you see that snake?
Yeah,
I
can we
love the.
maybe we'll just stop
Well, I
while
mean,
we're
he-
exiting
he
through the
has
cave, take a
seen,
minute
like,
to talk
a
about the
crazy-
fucking snake.
But he has seen like a crazy witch before and some other stuff. So
Yeah,
it's
he's seen
kind of
some-
like
he's seen some
I
shit.
feel as though it's like part of the environment where it's just there's
Hmm.
crazy shit everywhere. Actually, when you're watching this movie and you're thinking like, can you imagine just living in this environment? It must be fucking awful.
Oh my god, terrible. Just like South Texas. Like I feel.
Coming down to that.
Sorry.
I think I would be dead. Honestly.
The Alamo, you can have it. So the best line in the movie though, this is totally relevant to this, and as soon as the guy was like, "What is best in life?" and they cut out
Yeah.
they cut out words to make it sound like Old English. This is how you say Old English without actually saying words that we wouldn't understand. What is best in life? And people are like, money, sword, gold, and then he turns to he's like, Conan, what is best in life? And he just goes, crush your enemies, hear the lamentation of their women. And it's like,
Wait, do it in his voice. Hold on,
Yeah.
wait, do it in his voice. That's the first
Yeah.
time he speaks.
of the women.
that's it. And then
That's the first time he talks
hear
in the
that?
movie, isn't it?
And literally every person in the room was like, "Oh, yep, that's it."
Yes,
I
he's right.
was
Yes,
wrong.
good job, Conan.
I was
Good
wrong.
job.
Let's
He
not
is
argue with the
correct.
guy who just cracked that 7-foot guy, tall guy's skull. Like, yeah.
But I like that one guy, that delivery. That one guy's like, "And the wind in your hair." And there's like no one gives a fuck
Yeah.
what that guy says. It's great. He thinks he's saying something like really poetic, and
Philosophical
like
and
nobody
poet,
gives
yeah.
a shit.
I don't even know what the
Dude.
lamentations of their women are, but it's like, yep, that's
What
it.
about when
And how
they
funny
get-
is that
when
these
they-
people just watch Conan do it like he's in a cave. They just throw a woman in there. And I know this is not great for women, so I apologize to women watching this movie. But they literally throw her. She's just like completely topless, and he's like a ape in a zoo, just like the way but he treats her, I guess, more
Dude,
lovingly.
you know about the old
Well, he's supposed to be
English,
like
like
then-
the
then he
custom in
fucks,
England.
basically.
it's
When they got
basically
married,
agrees that,
they used to like carry the groom and the king and his wife up and watch them consummate the marriage.
Well, they had to make it official. They had to
Yeah.
make sure.
So like, yeah, it's not that big a stretch.
Conan's not a king.
It is funny to hear
he's
those
a lab
people
rat.
grumbling behind, though. They're like,
Yeah,
"Oh, yeah, well."
It's like, yeah, wow, he's more of an up and down person. I'm kind of an along
Yeah.
guy.
They did that. They did that in House of the Dragons this past week too. John, where were you
I
going to
haven't
take
seen
this?
that yet.
I haven't either.
I feel like this movie really started to take shape for me in the first stealing in the snake sanctuary scene when you meet what's her name?
Valerian?
What's it?
Valeria.
Valeria.
You know, do you want to live forever? You know, that whole thing.
She
like,
won a Golden Globe
'cause
from this
up in-
movie.
hey, look, man, I thought she did a good job. But honestly, like when you're watching these stories, and we're all kind of like trained to watch movies this way, but especially like the hero's journey kind of thing. Mark, you're right. The pushing with the thing and everybody died. That was fucking awesome. But I kept waiting to be like, what's going to be the catalyst that gets him into, the shenanigans that will eventually deliver him to the obstacle that brings him back to James Earl Jones. So I didn't see the thievery coming. I didn't see them meeting her. As soon as they met her, I thought they're totally going to do it at some point. But I thought it was interesting that they.
I mean,
that they
anytime we
ended up
met a
kind of-
woman, it was like they're totally going to do it at some point.
It's a very 80s way of describing what was going to happen. Yeah, they're going
Well,
to.
here's
I thought
the-
it was
here's the-
interesting.
Here's the thing, too. It's like he only knows he doesn't know. He was a kid when all this stuff happened. So he's like, I don't mind that he goes on his sort of journey of self-discovery and meeting and the friends that he gathers through that, and how it's sort of like he's also sidetracked by the riches of all the glory he's achieved.
Yeah.
He's like he's achieved so much that he's just getting drunk in this tavern, and then it sort of takes that king to be like, okay, I need you to rescue my daughter, and then it sort of brings him back on track. I think
they tried
the
to cut
story
the
is
scene
fantastic.
where he fell
It is
drunk
good
into the soup.
Oh,
'cause
really?
The producers tried to think they were basically like, yeah, it demeans him a little bit. It's like, no, we're sending a message here. It's like,
It's like his
you've suddenly
excessive
experienced,
life
you've experienced these riches, and now you've encountered this decadence because you can afford it, and
Yeah.
you have to come back from that. And like they had,
Yeah.
And he
had
even
this-
says
and
his
the
age. He's
producer
like
was
in
like,
his
no, I want a
20s.
cut, and they were like, go fuck yourself. So yeah, I'm glad they did, because
But
this reminds me of Rocky a little bit, in that like Rocky doesn't have the inciting incident about halfway through the film, And this is the same. It's building his team and building Conan and building the character. And then there's the inciting incident about, I want to say 40 minutes in. And that sets him on his quest.
Yeah. And like Rocky IV, where somebody
works.
molests a pig.
Jesus Christ.
Did you see that? Like, they're in like the tavern, and there's like all this stuff going on, and there's these two guys like tying up a pig. And PETA would not let that happen nowadays.
That's right. Yeah, they're like holding it and like dragging it,
and the camera just moves aside. And I was like, did they just torture this pig for a background credit? Like, I don't know.
But it's I'll be honest though, it makes you realize what kind of environment this is.
You
It's
know
like,
what? You're right.
It's a tavern, but there's also like animals in a marketplace. It feels very lived in to me.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, this is how these people live.
I mean, who knew the actor from Babe did porn beforehand? I'm just gonna drink for that one.
Where's everybody's buzzers? Yeah, come on.
That pig was delicious, by the way. I'm sure they ate that later that night.
You've been a vegetarian for 10 years.
Pork was where it was at when I was still eating the meats.
Right. There are a couple of things. I have a couple of questions.
Okay.
From the rewatch of this. Okay, so I also, as research, because we don't do enough research to ask YouTube.
Ask YouTube.
And as research, I also watched the Jason Momoa version of this film. Momoa versus Arnold. What are your thoughts?
I did see that movie in the theater. It's crap. He just, I mean, sorry.
I set you up.
I don't know.
I like Jason Momoa. I think he could have brought something to it, but the script, terrible. That director,
it wasn't just the script.
Not very good either.
It was never.
Like
you were
tiny.
never thinking like, if this guy needs to pick up a fucking rock and throw it, he's good with Momoa. And like for me, Arnold all the way in this role. The thing that got me the most about watching that was I watched the Momoa version, and my wife came home and she's like, "Oh, you watched that? I would have watched that with you." I'm like,
really?
"Oh, well, I'm about to watch the actual film Conan. Do you want to watch that?" And she's like, "No." And like her walkout soundtrack walked off, and I'm like,
"Is Jason Momoa and her like?"
Yeah, I feel threatened.
Jason is. I already outed my girlfriend for Chris Hemsworth being her number one. Jason's her number two.
Of course. I mean, John, you got to get to the gym, bro. Like, I don't know what to tell you.
Sure.
Honestly, I can't really blame them.
I mean, stretch. You got to get in those Braveheart like stretching things, you know, where he dies, and then you gotta.
Oh, one other thing I want to bring up before we get into the questions I have. John's gone. One thing I want to bring up before the questions I have is when they send him to the East to learn the martial arts.
Oh yeah,
and the instructor is there. Yeah. The instructor's there, like give him the speech, and the other guy lies, and he just swings around and nut kicks that guy.
I fucking love that.
I can't
I was
imagine.
like, holy shit! I had a math teacher like that once.
I just keep trying to imagine, like, we're making a movie together, and let's be real. The first hour of this movie is montage. It's just montage of building up his lore and his life and his education. Yeah. It's passing over everything and just showing you tidbits, right? I can't imagine thinking we're going to take him to the East and we film like 30 seconds of that guy screaming at that guy in Chinese gibberish and then kicking him in the nuts and being like, I think we got it.
Yeah. No. Wait, can I just tell you something?
I think we're good. Let's move back.
That scene is great because if you notice, when he fights at the end, when he's fighting Thulsa Doom in his ward, he does the fucking move from the training scene.
Sure. It's great. That.
And it shows cool. That like, it shows his intelligence because he's learning new things. He picks it up and he knows how to use it. It's like it's awesome character development. It may seem like a montage, but it's a huge piece of character development.
Great throwback. Well, I love that.
It's just a rule that. You know, again, like we shift as times change with movie history and stuff. And I think it's really interesting that this movie, coming off the back of the 70s, did not rely on a lot of montage storytelling is strictly intellectual. It's just information. And I thought it was interesting that they built an entire character's foundation around scenes that didn't really give him as many opportunities to have an emotional reaction or an emotional connection to what was happening to him. So, like, I'm just going to cite it. The very first time, one of the most famous lines from Gladiator is his first fight, right? or his at the end of the montage of his first gladiator sequence, are you not entertained? Right, that whole sequence is cool, and we're like watching, and we're like, oh god, the blood, it's so good, and we turn into the people that are watching those close-ups of everybody being like, oh fuck yeah, and then he turns it on us. He says, "Are you not entertained?" And he fucking says, "Fuck you." They don't need any of that in Conan the Barbarian.
No.
It's just interesting that honestly, I was watching, I was like, they're getting away with it. They're getting away with us they're telling us a story, which is smart because they're literally narrating the story to us. So they had this ability to just let me tell you about this character. It's not about you watching and observing and becoming him.
Here's the
You
difference.
really did just get to hear the tale. Sorry.
Here's the difference between Gladiator and this movie. In Gladiator, he interacts and talks to a lot of people. And also, by the way, Gladiator reflects a lot of this movie. But for Conan, his parents are killed. He's captured. As a kid, he talks to no one. He's just pushing this fucking mill around into his late teens and 20s.
It's a good 10 years, right?
And then he's freed, but basically captured by this guy who's raising gladiators. He doesn't talk to many people, and the fact that he's so quiet and everything's internalized, it's because he's been by himself for the longest time. Most of the movie he's imprisoned or controlled by other people, and even that king. So he doesn't necessarily have a mind of his own to say certain things up until and I love the fact that he is a very quiet character, and his moment, you were talking about how in Gladiator it has that moment of, are you not entertained? For me, it's when Conan has done everything and he's just sitting by himself on that staircase and just reflecting, and it's all internalized, and I think that's brilliant.
Intentional or
Which
not,
part was
he
that?
played
Which
his
part was
fucking
that?
nuance,
After he
man.
kills Thulsa Doom, the sun is rising and he's just sitting on the staircase.
At the very end. Yeah,
And to me,
Also,
that's like,
He's a hell of a
what
discus
great
thrower, man. He
character.
threw that flame 100 yards. Whether it was, you sometimes have to give the director credit, as John. Somebody could act the shit out of it, and then the one shitty take that they do, where they forget their arc, is the one they use in the film, and then they get roasted about it for years. Arnold played his nuance, man. You're right. You're 100% right. He was cattle, and then his ability to be self-aware and to make his own decisions, you almost see him make those decisions in real time.
Well, the thing
as
is,
opposed
like,
to contemporary filmmaking, where sometimes it just seems random. It seems like we should just assume things about people, but it's good to witness it from beginning to end.
Yeah, this felt to me, it felt more natural because he's gone through all of that, and that, to be honest, the moment he's free is not when that guy that's in charge of the gladiators cuts his chain. The moment he's really free is he threw away the sword that his only connection with his people and with his mother and father. He throws that away. So now you know that, and it's a shame that the sequels don't follow through with this, but it's actually a very intelligent movie. He's just like, you think about it, he's accomplished his mission. He's gotten to the stature that he's at. And it's like it's this amazing scene of like, now what? But it's great because he doesn't have to tell anyone that. You just see it in his face and in the scenery and the composition. And I think it's a beautiful movie because of that. It really elevates it more than some sword and sorcery movie. It's actually a really good character study.
You got
Gosh.
We knew we were gonna get that.
And this is from the guy that had the story credit on 1941, which is one of our worst reviewed films we've ever done on this podcast.
Okay, like I
You
just
can
want to bring.
co-write. You can co-write. Sorry.
Go.
Maybe
You
we
can
gotta give
co-write
Oliver Stone more
1941,
credit. Yeah.
And then you can co-write Apocalypse Now. That's how this business works.
I didn't like
Dave,
any
were you
of
about
those
to say something? Because I want to spin off of what Mark was just saying. Mark, I thought it was interesting that you used the word "it felt natural to you," because one thing I really enjoyed about the overall aesthetic and the direction, the performances, was that I didn't see this recent Conan. I didn't see it, but I have a feeling, like a lot of contemporary movies that do period, there was a contemporary naturalism projected into it. I like that this was heightened and theatrical and subdued, and his character wasn't like pedestrian outside of like some like basic human emotions, like laughing when he's drunk and having sex every now and then. Like, I really appreciated that it didn't feel like, can't you relate to these people with the way that they're just like us? It's like, no, they're not.
Yeah.
Nothing about their existence is even remotely similar to the way we all live now. So I hate it when people do that in contemporary, especially the sword and sandal, that whole kind of thing, when they project that kind of energy upon it. I don't think it works. So I really thought that this lent itself, and it felt authentic. It felt vacant in a way that I don't know if I've ever seen in another sword and sandal movie, because a lot of those movies are almost like Shakespearean from the 50s and 60s. They talk in these huge monologues, and there's something to that as well. Cleopatra is a great movie. There've been Spartacus is a great movie, but I really did like that this went kind of the other way, and it felt like the angry mongrel silent version of what all of those films were trying to do underneath those fancy monologues. And this, I've never seen nothing else. I've never seen another movie like that. By the way, what they achieved there.
Not to contradict you, John, but I don't think it's very angry. It's a very sweet film too, because you can see the between him and Valerian, and also Subutai. Like when
Subutai,
it actually feels like they're falling in love. Conan is no longer, like at the beginning, he's like, they're all sluts. And then he's like developing a relationship with a woman, and he was used for breeding before.
No, you're right.
And then,
man.
By the way, there's another amazing line which always gets me, and it's when Subatai's like, he's like, "Why are you crying?" And he's like, "I cry because he won't." And that's a phenomenal line, and it's so simple. It doesn't have to. That's what's great about this movie. It doesn't need monologues to describe things. It just needs one sentence,
you're totally
and it's
right.
enough to you understand Conan, you understand Subutai, and you also understand that guy that's like now part of their group. It's fantastic.
I
don't see that in many movies now.
Once before we get back to the questions I have, I want to point out as well the animated effects, especially in the resurrection scene with the demons, still held up. Like I was making something similar to that. Those hand drawn animated demons that were trying to pull him down had like musculature and everything.
Yeah.
I was asked to make something very similar recently for a visual effect for a feature film, and like. It's like that design still works. It still worked for me. It was like that held up.
It did hold up. And Mark, you're right, dude. I will totally agree with that. It was a very.
That's for you, Dave.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, nice.
It was a very positive movie all the way up to the end, when ultimately James Earl Jones was like trying to woo him, and not in like the twirly mustache way, just like, I made you who you are. And I thought it was really interesting from just a script analysis thing that he had already stated that fact. I thought it was cool that he was reiterating it, that James Earl Jones' character thought, you're finally to a place where maybe you can understand what I said to you 40 minutes ago in the film. You would not be here if it wasn't for me, and I'm ready to welcome you. And it's still, and they didn't give Conan like that. He wasn't two-dimensional right there. I felt like they gave him a moment where you thought he's conflicted.
Yeah.
He's not
what
sure
is life?
if he wants
if
to
he
kill
kills
him,
all
but he has
humans,
to.
then what is life with just 3 people alive? You need a community or a society.
Who's he going to throw into fires after some weird sex? He's just got to make sure.
All right, Dave, what are your other questions? Who are you going to throw into the fire after some weird sex and convince to commit suicide?
I have questions. This starts off with a very famous quote: "That which does not kill you makes you stronger." It's the one part that doesn't age, because we know that was disproved in 2020. So,
David.
Okay.
This movie, I started laughing out loud when I saw that Nietzsche quote, though. I was like, wow, they are shameless. Shameless is the word for this movie. Ooh, that is bold. Yeah. Anyway, keep going. Right. Sorry.
You can trust the sword. His advice from his father. You can trust the sword. Immediately failed by the sword, which is then used to kill his mother.
Good point. 100% true. Yeah, steel doesn't lie. Yeah.
There are some fun contradictions throughout this. This
I did like that. Like, what gods do you pray to? And then they have a thing about why their god is better, and nobody killed anyone. I was
My
very
God's
appreciative
dick is
of
bigger
that.
than your dick.
Yeah, it was That was
I
that
think,
was
by
kind
the
of
way,
refreshing.
That's for John.
To me though,
Yeah.
the steel and you can trust it, is as in it's a tool. Whereas if you trust another person, perhaps they can stab you in the
Yeah,
back.
you can trust that a
However,
sword will kill you if it goes into
yeah,
you.
exactly. It's a tool that if you use it properly, you can rely on it. But the thing is, it is. I think it's meant to be disproven because that blade, he shatters it himself. He breaks that blade that his father that's forged at the beginning. So you're also seeing that
Yeah.
he's conflicted with there's so many different things he's conflicted about. It's his father's teaching, it's religion. There's so many things that have to go through his mind, but that's what's
Yeah.
formulating him. And
And
you have
his
to keep
prayer
in mind,
was-
like I said before, when he talks about his age, he's still in his 20s toward
Crazy.
the end there.
Just like the author.
I just
and
want
that
you to
prayer
know
was
that
not very
this
convincing,
is
by
for
the way. at the end.
rationalizing my joke.
It's like, and if you're not there, Crumb, you can go fuck yourself. It's like, oh, okay, well, like that's what I say to God. God, if you're there,
That's yours,
please
Mark. You can
But
cure
keep
that.
it.
here's another
God, please
by
cure
the
that
way,
cancer. And if you're not there, go fuck yourself.
No, but here's another here's a cool scene where it shows that Conan, he's not just rigid in his beliefs. But everything up until he meets Subutai is like when he sees something, that's a sign of Crom. Then he has a conversation with Subutai and he's like, your God, my God's in the sky. Your God lives beneath mine. And Conan does not refute that. He kind of,
ponders
it
that,
looks
yeah.
like he thinks about it and he's like, maybe you're right. Maybe there's more to than just steel. Maybe there's more. And I think that's why he throws the sword away at the end. He realizes it's like all these other teachings he's heard in his life experience, some of that's not true. And he has to get rid of things that are not true and believe in the things that he sees as truth. And I think that's a really cool part of the story.
All right,
We're developing with him. Like how many religions have we grown up with when we were children? And you have to decide which one is right for you and which one is not. And I think for Conan, he sees an example like maybe that truth of steel is really not a thing. And maybe he's conflicted at that last point because he's gone through all that and he sees that maybe this isn't the way. And I think that's awesome. It's actually, to me, it's a very intelligent movie. It's not just a guy going around killing people. There's a lot of layers to this movie.
The double gush. Double gush.
You have to drink for the gush too.
Dave, what else you got, dude?
It's funny. I wrote a note about when he picks the flowers. The thing about, do you have any flowers? And they're purple. And when he arrives in the next scene, they're white.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's a massive continuity. But then I realized I looked up the tech specs, and they were using Kodak T100 film to film this, which means they're using a tungsten film in daylight. So they have to filter it. And I realized that I can't make a joke about that because there's actually a technical reason why the flowers change color.
Nice.
I have a question.
Mythbusters.
Like a buzz for that.
Mythbusters here on that.
After, although I was not let down by the final fight scenes and the final, confrontation at the very end.
Yeah, Home
When
Alone
they
had nothing
first-
on this booby trap.
Wow. Yeah, it's just it didn't matter at all, right? They utilized one of them. They fell through all the rest
That
of
was
their
awesome.
stakes.
The one was awesome.
Anyway,
I mean, they weren't supposed to, though, rubber. But
What a waste of stakes.
Honestly, what a waste of stakes. They spent
Yeah,
so
one
how many
horse,
hours did it
15 minutes of slicing stuff.
for
I'll
one?
buzz
They made
myself
so
for that.
many of them. It didn't make sense.
The one horse
All right,
fell and just
all right.
wiped them all out. He was already dead anyway. He didn't need the stakes. Okay, sorry.
All right, one of
What
my
were you saying?
one of my favorite lines in the whole movie. And I really didn't know what was going to come, so I was like, when James Earl Jones, when they first escape with Max von Sydow's daughter and they're getting her out, and he says, "They will fear the night. They will remember why they are scared of the night." And then he shoots them with a snake arrow, and then they attack in broad daylight.
I thought that-
ironically,
I thought
John
that's-
said that to
Hold
me
on a
just
second.
before a
Hold on a
shoot in a
second.
bank.
Hold on. They said in the script. I did this true story. They said earlier in the script. They said that his militia, when they were still like building followers and they were just conquering, and he thought he was trying to get steel and power. They said that they would come at night. They didn't, though. They didn't when they attacked his village. And then at the very end, they could not. I just feel like they teed it up so much. I was like, oh shit, this is going to be like a firelight, like torches in the fucking sand. This is going to be badass. And they were like, They just completely abandoned it.
Yeah.
I just thought that was weird. What was he talking about?
The one thing I thought was cool is like he talks about they'll fear the night, but he kills Thulsa Doom at night.
That's true. It's true. And then it
Yeah,
was,
and
the
the
morning
one
rises
he
with
also
the fire.
kills the one guard that he didn't kill during the fighting montage.
Good point. Yeah,
The
interesting.
one guard, yeah, there is one left.
And
But
yeah,
I
there's
thought that
Dave.
was just really funny. I thought that was
But if
funny.
you notice, every time they're successful against Thulsa Doom, it happens at night. Like they kill that big snake at night.
True.
They invade at night. So these thieves, most of their success takes place at night. And I think maybe that line of dialogue alludes to like, well, maybe they feel confident in the night because they're thieves. So maybe that's like
That's really sweet of you, Mark. I think they realized we don't have the light to shoot this at night.
Yeah.
there's a lot of
can't shoot this
They're in the middle of the
no,
desert
there's
in
a lot
Spain.
of night scenes. There's a lot of night scenes in this movie that look great. So I don't know
Their
if that's
interior,
true.
though. Their interior, though. Have you guys tried to shoot outside
they're
at night? That
giant
shit's
masters
fucking
of- yeah.
difficult, dude.
John Carpenter
days,
does it
man.
all the time. John Carpenter only shoots at night, and he's
John
been
Carpenter
around
can
since
afford
like
a fucking
70s,
crane.
80s.
It's
I
like,
know. I'm just saying, it takes a lot of light. Anyway, I thought that was funny. There were, God, there was another really fun. All right, I want to play a game with you guys because I've already brought it up a few times. I kind of thought about this halfway through the
all right,
movie. and
we're
I
at an
giggled
hour
to
20,
myself.
but yeah.
Sure. What if Martin Scorsese and his actors troupe had gotten to make this movie? In
Oh my
which
God.
roles would you cast
It would be
Robert De
hilarious.
Niro, John Cazale, and Joe Pesci? Out of our three major leads,
Robert
in
De
this
Niro's the
movie,
gay priest. Robert De Niro,
Joe
gay priest.
Pesci, Joe Pesci as Subotai.
Yeah.
My,
They're
Who's
gonna
the-
remember when they fear the night. They're gonna remember. Did you say Robert De Niro is the gay priest?
Yes.
This is all I wear. This is all I got.
This is the guy. This is
all-
what I wear.
Yeah,
It's like, well, you should like your body. Why you like your
Why
body?
are
Why
you
you like your
scared?
body?
Why are you scared with all those muscles?
Why do you like
You got a great body.
You
Why you
don't
like your
it?
body?
You don't like it? Why don't you like it? You don't like it? You don't like it? That's so good.
How about
Oh,
Ray
that's
Liotta
so
as
funny.
Thulsa Doom?
Ray Liotta.
Oh, God.
The hair?
Harvey Keitel is the narrator who wait, who's the guy?
Yeah, dude. Oh, yeah.
Fuck
That's
me.
fucking fair. That's exactly where he would go. That's exactly where he would go. Oh, God, that's so funny. Man. All right. Anyway, I just
All
wanted
right.
to.
I just
And
want to put
14-year-old Jodie Foster
yeah.
as the best friend. Okay.
Just one or two things
Who
I want
kills
to point
somebody?
out.
He's like,
In the resurrection scene, when the wizard is painting all the runes on Conan, he's like, do you remember our a guy like he appeared on a show a while back, Ryan, my
Heard
good friend
of him,
Ryan.
Yeah.
That's right.
That's
That's
the
right.
noise he
Attack-
makes when he's
Soda.
drunk. I swear
Oh.
to God. I don't know if he's ever going to listen to this episode, but like Ryan makes he thinks he's explaining the plot of Rock of Love to you, but that's really what's coming out of his mouth.
It's just Tibetan throat
Yeah, it's-
singing.
yeah.
By the way, I loved how
Right, for
that was one
disparaging
more-
our former guests.
That was another moment where I was like, he was casting the spell as he was painting the runes, but then at night he was like, I'm not touching that shit. He was
Yeah,
terrified.
I'm the fuck outta
like there
here,
was there was no spell casting. He was just like, I don't know what's gonna happen to him.
It's like when
We'll
you take
see.
someone to a haunted house and it's actually haunted. It's like, what the fuck?
Well, you know, think about it this way, though. This guy's been on his own, and it's probably his first time doing the spell. And then when he sees those demons, he's like, oh, fuck this shit. I'm out of here.
Yeah.
But I like the fact that the way she stays and Subotai and they keep his body down. That's such a cool, it's such a simple scene, but you know
Yeah.
they legit care about him. It's awesome.
Mm.
Like how,
Yeah,
like
dude.
when I see, when I
Also-
watch, like when I'm watching Game of Thrones or all these other like sword and sorcery shows where like everyone just treats each other like shit. There's always arguments. It's great to see a group of
bit of
people
incest.
that actually like each other. Like, and I don't know. I'm so tired of seeing these anti-heroes where they're just fucking all cunts, and it's like, oh, we gotta watch these assholes interact with each other. I like seeing a tight-knit group of people. Like,
It's true.
you know, it's
Yeah.
great.
While we're on the subject
Hey, I
of
think-
tight knit groups of people, her last line, like, hold me, kiss me, let me breathe my last breath into your mouth. It's like, all right, hang on, sweetie.
Yeah,
we
Arnold
need a
was
kink
like,
list
well-
if this is going any further.
Yeah, Arnold was like, "This is going really well, but
Yeah, I'm a little
moved
freaked
on."
out right now.
No, it's good.
It's going to be like
I
a
thought it was,
pretty cool
I
that
thought it
she-
was
finger in the
quite
butthole
moving,
next
actually.
after breathing my last breath into your mouth. Like,
That was pretty cool. Jeez, yeah. That was pretty cool that we saw the fucking Valkyrie moment,
Yeah, it's cool.
right? I couldn't stop thinking about. Mark, did you like The Northman?
I haven't seen it yet,
All right,
but
well, we
I'd
talked
love
about
to
it.
see
And
it.
obviously, there's some parallels. I didn't realize.
Don't
this was
listen to
straight
our
up, like-
podcast before you go see it.
By the way, a lot of times I don't listen to your podcast is because I haven't seen the movies, so I apologize. I have to catch up
Understand.
on movies.
Oh, we just have to
Yeah,
do old
sure,
movies
sure,
all the
sure,
time,
sure,
so you'll
sure.
listen.
John didn't
Northman's
believe
available
me.
for stream now.
Uh-huh.
Anything else about Conan, guys? Anything else we got here? We'll have to save the Northman inside scoop for our private chat, which is now named Conan's Cunts.
I thought it
Glad I
was
saw
to
it.
me like when you hear about this movie, a lot of people will they have this preconceived notion that it's just some guy going around slaughtering people, and that's the case
There's
too.
so much
but it's
more.
actually a
Yeah.
very sweet
That's the
movie
case,
to
too.
me.
Also, it's really funny that a lot of people get the Conan the Barbarian confused with Conan the Destroyer. Like a lot
Oh,
of people
yeah.
think they've seen Barbarian, but they've actually seen Destroyer, and they think that was Barbarian. Like
And
I've
that
seen this come
movie
across
stinks.
such.
It's very different.
Yeah, I have a question. And this will
Yeah, it
be
has.
my
What's
last-
what's the guy's name? That plays his companion, Tracy.
Morgan.
Yeah,
But
yeah. He holds
Tracy
like the
Morgan.
record for playing the most roles where he uses exactly the same character.
is
Oh,
that
really?
a real record, or are you just being a dick?
I'm just being a dick, really. But no, it's,
Actually, Matt
Every
was showing
single
me there's
fucking-
this one
every
actor
single
that his
appearance.
character's the same name throughout every single role he's played. I forgot that fucking guy's name, but it was
Jerry
ridiculous.
Lopez? Are you talking about Subutai?
No, it's a different actor. Oh God, I'll have to
Will
look it up.
Chamberlain.
Did you say
I have a
Wilt
question.
Chamberlain?
I have
He
a
said
question,
Conan the
Mark.
Destroyer.
Mark and David, and we can go out on this for the listeners.
Tracy
Yeah.
Walter.
We can
They
go out
will.
on this maybe. Is it worth seeing Red Sonja and the other Conan movie, whatever that
Conan
is?
the Destroyer.
I mean,
Conan the
Destroyer is
I-
campy as fuck. But
They're
it's-
both cheesy, right?
Yeah, I mean, like, but Olivia Diabo's in it. She's great. That's all I remember.
All right. Well, that was. I
There-
think the
there-
answer is
here's
no. Film
Here's
fans,
here's the thing, like Conan the Barbarian has like this scale, this epic scale, and the other like Red Sonja and Conan the Destroyer just feel like really crap. It looks like they shot in someone's backyard. It looks like crap. They both look like garbage. There's I'll totally take a drink for that one because it's true.
Just drink through that clear glass of empty liquid after all
Oh
the
no,
straight
this is
vodka.
vodka.
This is vodka.
This
Oh,
is
it's
just
straight
straight
vodka
up.
now.
Oh.
Yeah, he's
'cause
going
I have
spirits.
my bottle
He's-
with me here.
He's in the
Oh, yeah.
danger zone.
Well done.
I like how it blurs out because you have the blurry background for our audience. He has the blurry background thing on Zoom. So
No,
when he
it's
puts
'cause
the
those-
vodka up,
those
it almost
vod-
looks like it's like we haven't paid for the endorsement.
No, it's because those vodka people haven't sponsored us yet.
That's it. That's
True,
it. Looks
they
like,
should.
he holds
Yeah,
it up.
we're
It's like,
not
no, you have to pay for that. Sorry, what were you? Finish your thought, Mark.
I was basically like Conan the Barbarian it's on another level. I think it should be up there with there's so many movies that borrow from it, you know? Like even like we discussed Gladiator. I think a lot of movies borrow heavily from the way this story is told. And
Yeah.
I
That's
think
fair.
it should be I think it's a very underrated and it's a very influential film.
I think we can finish
go.
on that.
I think that's a fucking
Well
way to
said,
bring it
man.
home.
Yeah.
So
We don't
glad
have
we had you on, dude. So glad.
Oh, thanks
That
so
was
much for having me.
perfect
This
addition
is
to
super
this
fun to
episode.
talk to.
we don't
Same
we don't
here.
have a,
about this.
we don't have a jingle to segue into our final segment. So I'll just say. That
Sure.
sound
Oh,
means
that's
it
what
is
that
time
button's
for it. That sound means that we are in our final segment. What you've been watching. That's right. What you've been watching, people. Where we go around the horn and we talk about things we've been seeing that we want to watch. Why don't we go ahead and start with our guest today? Is that okay, Dave? If we start
That's
with Mark.
okay.
Mark,
Oh,
what you been
that-
watching?
So how does this work? Do I rattle off a bunch of stuff?
So you and Matt
two or
turned this
three
into a whole
things.
segment, which is great. But just give us some recommendations, something that you
Well,
want to.
I've-
You think we should watch?
I've been watching. Matt recommended this show, The League. I've been looking for like a nice comedy, and
The
so
fantasy The fantasy
so
football league.
I've been watching that, and it's fucking hilarious. Let's see, what else have I been seeing? I actually, to be honest, I've been watching a lot of series, and not too much. Yeah, so I've been watching The Bear, which
Fun,
is really
right? It's
good.
good.
Yeah, I really enjoy. I'm like on episode 5, and so far so good. What was another one I've watched? I've been watching a lot of Family Guy of recent,
Nice.
just because I've been looking for comedies, and as far as movies, geez, it's crazy. There's not many things I can recommend in the movie realm.
So you're not
No,
recommending.
we also do series here.
Beast.
That's fine.
Yeah, Beast
not
was like.
recommending Beast.
I
almost thought
watched
that was
Ghost in the
spoiler.
Dark. That, you know what's funny? It's because there's so many good old movies. It makes the new movies hard to recommend because I
Good.
can find
Keep
a
the bar high.
parallel.
Keep the bar
that's
high.
like-
recommend the old ones.
Go
Fuck
watch.
it.
I would say watch Ghost in the Darkness. That movie, fantastic.
Young filmmakers
Apocalypse
make
Now.
your
Watch
movies, but
Apocalypse
the
Now.
bar is high. Oh yeah.
Maybe
Except for Dave.
I mean,
Don't watch.
yeah, maybe watch it on 2-speed. I don't know. Like
Dave, you're up next. What do you want to recommend besides Apocalypse?
nobody buzz with. Oh, there we go.
Fucking asshole.
Okay, so I watched on Netflix the movie Day Shift.
Oh, yeah, I saw
the
that.
Jamie
I
Foxx
thoroughly
thing?
enjoyed that. Yeah.
Snoop Dogg in a fucking cowboy hat fighting vampires, and there are so many Lost Boy references that me and my wife watched the Lost Boys straight after it.
Oh, really?
Wow.
Nice.
Like it was
Kiefer Sutherland at his best.
It's so, dude, it's so fucking amazing. Like the Day Shift film is so funny and like
That's good, man.
the-
I heard it was bad, so I'm glad
it's
you're
not
I'm
bad
glad
at
you're
all.
telling me it was fun.
They got contortionists to play some of the vampires. Some of the shit they do is amazing.
Oh, yeah. That was
Um,
dope.
Yeah, and like I enjoyed it
Vampire
thoroughly.
contortionists.
By the way, Dave, did you like Bright?
Do you think that was in their pitch?
I did actually like Bright.
So that actually that
Yeah.
movie reminded me a lot of Bright. I love those, like, you know.
Yeah,
I guess they're
and
like these.
I feel
LA
like there
based
would have been
almost
another one by
Smith
now if he hadn't punched someone out at the
Netflix thing.
Oscars. But
It wasn't a punch.
It was a slap. Good old slap. It's
yeah.
a real one, too.
yeah, it was
All right.
it was a slap with feeling. I also watched the 2 extra episodes they dropped this week of The Sandman.
Oh, what did you
Oh,
think?
cool, man.
I fucking love them. I mean, Dream of a Thousand Cats is a very popular book. The way that the animated is the only way they could have done it. The voice talent in it is amazing, and then that's the shorter of the like the half of the episode, and then they go into Calliope, which is fucking brutal. By the time you get to the end of it, you are rooting for the people that are going to hurt people.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it is
Okay.
amazing.
Actually, Matt and I were debating whether we should watch it or not, and I think okay, now I
What,
will.
Sandman or
The bonus episodes.
yeah, I
Because
mean,
we kind of didn't like the way the last 2 episodes or the last essentially 5 played out
okay.
because it felt like.
We
By
didn't
the
like
way-
last 5 out of the 8 episodes. We didn't like, but
By the way, I have a question for you guys.
That's right.
When you
I can,
did
I
did
can,
the
I
first
can, I
5
can actually,
episodes,
yeah, I can actually
of
incorporate
Sandman
go fuck
feel-
yourself into an okay.
but did the last 5, like the first 5
That's it.
episodes of Sandman, felt very different from the last 5?
let's see it.
I haven't seen it. I didn't.
I
watch
mean,
it.
Oh,
the
okay.
books read a little different too. Highly recommend reading those, by the way. But yeah, the Calliope episode is brutal. It's like no one from the show until
okay.
like near the end. You start getting a couple of characters drop in, and for very good reason.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I will definitely
Nice.
check
And
that.
by that point, you want to hurt people.
Ooh.
Nice.
Yeah.
Jesus.
I am.
John.
I'm rewatching for the shits and giggles intermittent viewing. I'm rewatching 30 Rock, a wonderful show, hilarious.
Nice.
I am still watching For All Mankind on Apple TV Plus. I really like the space part of it more than the soapy character, what's happening with them and their. I just don't care
Cool.
about that as much. But the other stuff, the space stuff, and the fiction of what could have happened is still fun if you're into that kind of thing. And I also watched a rewatch, but I haven't seen it in years and years and years. Touch of Evil. Orson
Oh, God.
Welles.
By the way, John, that's my favorite Orson Welles movie. I love it more than Citizen Kane. That last sequence with the
So,
radio, fuck.
So stylized, dude. That sequence incredible.
Just
It's,
the radio
I
saying,
love it
The
because it's
opening,
kind of a-
god damn, the
it's kind of
opening's
a-
great.
It's like a flawed, low budget film that is so maturely stylized. He like gave birth to like everything we think of when we think of that kind of style. It's just it's a real educational. It's hard not to feel like you're being educated when you're watching it. You need to watch it a few times before I think you can just kind
Oh
of
yeah.
sink in and enjoy the story, because it's still
Did
you know, charming story. You got to get on board with Charlton Heston being a Mexican. But as
To
soon
be
as
honest,
get on board with
for
that-
me, you kind of forget about that. No,
Can
like
you ask
after a
what
while,
noise
you
is
just
this
kind
I
of
don't
like.
even think he's purebred. He's probably like mixed breed. I don't even. It didn't raise any issues for me.
By the way, did you notice the guy in the hotel is the lead from Steven Spielberg's Duel?
no,
the
I
guy
didn't.
that's
I'm not
in
gonna lie,
that-
dude. I've never seen the whole movie. I've just seen clips.
Oh.
Just seen the truck thing at the very end. I've just seen like the big chase at the very end through the valley. Really good though. It was on Criterion, Touch of Evil, Orson Welles. Can't go wrong. Jeff, what you been watching, dude?
I've been watching The Staircase, as I mentioned. I've seen the documentary on Netflix. It was great. This one is so fucking slow, man. I can't believe how slow it is. But it's
I feel like you're itching to get back to it right now. I feel like
it's the weirdest. It's the weirdest feeling, man. The performances are amazing. Toni Collette as like the victim, basically, but they do some back and forth in the time, and Colin Firth, of course, and then Michael Stuhlbarg. I mean, how do you go like that?
That's a crazy cast.
Can you
actually.
just the
It's
three
really
of them,
good.
and then you have like Dane DeHaan in a small role, and I like Dane DeHaan, but it's almost like you don't need them. You really just need these three people. You have Parker Posey come. It's fucking great cast, and so even though I think
Wow.
it is too slow, especially since I've seen the Netflix documentary, I want to. But it's like I can't stop thinking about it. I want to. Yeah. So kudos to them. And then
Nice.
I feel like I watched something else. I started watching In Good Company, that movie with like Dennis Quaid, and I don't think that one held up. And I don't think my brother did either. We were watching it together, and then I feel
Which
like
one
I was
was it?
watching In Good Company about Dennis Quaid, like his boss. Is it basically about like Sports Illustrated, but really the storyline is Topher Grace becomes Dennis Quaid's
Oh
boss.
yeah. Topher Grace. I remember that one. Yeah.
It's kind of like it wants to be a Cameron Crowe comedy, and it just isn't.
It feels
it
like
did
that,
not
yeah,
age,
yeah.
it did not age well. So that one I'm not going to recommend. Staircase. I feel like there was one other fucking thing that I watched. Oh, and then of course House of the Dragons, which honestly it's almost like the
Talk
first
to
10
me, dude,
minutes.
because like
It's
is
almost
it worth
like-
watching? I don't even
I
want to
haven't
watch
watched
it,
it
dude.
It plays dance, but it's almost like the first 10 minutes. It's almost like lookalikes. You watch everybody, and it's almost like they cast people that they maybe just the way Miguel
no.
Sapochnik shot it. It's almost like they want you to go, that person looks like Ser Jorah. That person looks like Baelish. Oh my God, she looks just like Daenerys. Oh my God, is that like
Oh, no.
you're almost expecting them to be like cameoing in the
So
Game
you
of
didn't
Thrones
like
cast in
it?
this.
It's
No,
not.
I liked it. I liked it. It's a good story. It's a good story. Simple story. It's a good story.
Because I'm not gonna lie, I'm resisting that, and I'm resisting Ring of Power. There's a
Well, whatever.
Ring
You
of
have to-
Power looks like a pile of shit.
Yeah,
Feel
it
free to
does
buzz
kinda
me for
look
that. Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
We don't even know if
Deal.
you deserve to be buzzed. You
So
know? I don't
anyway,
know.
we'll
Like,
have to.
this-
We got 10 long weeks of this, so we'll see. We got hundreds of
Yeah.
millions of dollars between the two of them, closer to $1 billion than not.
I mean,
of
I
dollars
saw
for
on,
these
I
two
saw on
series,
Twitter
so.
tonight Neil Gaiman got invited to the premiere of the first 2 episodes. So I'm looking forward to seeing what happens tomorrow, like whether he comments
Oh,
or
wow.
not. That
I just
will
love that they competed over
decide whether I'm gonna
the
be on board
launch.
for this. So,
I
yeah.
just love that they competed over. They're like, who's coming out first? Who's coming out? I'm coming out first. You're coming out first.
I mean,
So
they invited
anyway.
Neil Gaiman, the guy who has the number one
Yeah.
show in the world right now.
Yeah.
So on a competing network.
Well,
so
Damn.
People, I think that's it. Thank you so much for staying with us for our Conan episode. Please find in the link tree and in the show notes, we're going to link the Matt and Mark movie podcast. So if you are in Saudi Arabia and Portugal, man, they're trying to get up to the top.
Yeah.
They're trying to really get to the top. But
And
other
Denmark.
also,
countries as
apparently
well.
they're on
Denmark,
YouTube now as well. So feel
anywhere
free
in
to come at them on
Scandinavia.
YouTube.
YouTube, Twitter. They're on TikTok. You know, they're doing all the things. They're getting out there.
Scandinavia. This episode was for you.
Scandinavia. And I promise
And that
you,
guy in
because
Texas.
I for some reason I'm always in the car when I'm listening. If you reach out to them, Matt will respond. Maybe not Mark. Matt will respond. So listen to them and feel connected. Feel
Oh
connected.
God,
Matt
Matt's
will
the
respond to
me
you.
of this show.
Oh yeah.
Matt, we love you.
I shouldn't buzz you though because we
Come
need you,
back
Dave.
on- come back on
Dave, we
our,
need you.
Podcast.
All right, thank you guys so much for listening, and we'll see you next week where we're going to talk about one of 2 movies, and it's going to be great.